What happened to WWE stages? Once upon a time, WWE continuously pumped out works of art with their set designs, intricate pieces that had a great level of thought and detail put into them. Even the most inconsequential D-list shows had a unique presentation. Whether they were over the top towering structures or making the most out of a small space, for years they had the Midas touch, giving each show its own mood, immersion, and making the production value feel top tier regardless of what was happening on said show. Today, all that's gone. In an era where they hold more stadium shows than ever, experiment with never before seen pay-per-view types, and put a heavy focus on location-oriented shows, the set designs have lost all their charm. Bland, boring, no eye towards creativity, eras blending into one unmemorable generic mess, also having some awesome what-ifs slip right through their fingers. We'll look at some of the best ones a little later, but first we have to answer the question in the title. What happened? Pretty simple. Money, logistics, and ticket sales. Once WWE moved into the streaming world with the creation of the network, there wasn't that same focus on buy rate numbers. They didn't have to chase making every show stand out as much as possible from any and all standpoints. Unique stages were put to rest in the mid-2010s, even though it had been happening year by year since the move to high definition back in 2008. 2014 also aligns perfectly with the year the network was launched. Since they were highly dependent on this and the initial numbers didn't match what they had envisioned, they started to cut costs from wherever they could. Time, energy, and cost was saved by making streamlined sets. One size fits all, where all they needed to do was slap the Smackdown or RAW graphics package on top and call it a day. Financially, this helped out because A, they didn't have to shell out money for the extra transportation, shipping, and creating of special elements that might only be used once or twice, only to collect dust in a warehouse. B, they didn't have to rent out a venue days beforehand to actually put these mammoths up, since the construction would take a lot of preparation. And C, smaller stages means more fans. More fans means more money, and more money equals more people in the host city spending on merch and tickets, feeding into what they love to go on about, those sweet gate numbers. Now that being said, personally speaking, I don't care about their revenue. I roll my eyes every time I hear someone using that as a defense for their laziness. Some people act like that money is theirs to flex, and it's really weird. Despite having more money and resources than ever, they do the bare minimum. No additional props, no experimentation, nothing. All of us that are asking for them to put in more effort understand that it's still about their bottom line, but that doesn't mean they can't at least do something. That doesn't excuse a multi-billion-dollar company's laziness. I miss unique pay-per-view stages. I miss how special things felt once that zoom out happened. I miss every entrance, no matter how high or low profile the wrestler, having that extra bit of production behind them. Back in 2017, WWE stopped using pyro, and Road Dogg answered a fan on Twitter saying that these are just economics. Stages nor pyro were necessary. Fancy sets were phased out long before the company was sold to TKO, and they started to monetize essentially everything but breathing in their arenas. Unfortunately, minimalism is just the standard now. We've seen character taken out of so many logos and locations. If you're a lapsed fan or longtime fan, one thing you'll also notice is how WWE's overall production is very different. First off, you don't have Kevin Dunn taking every camera angle within a 9-second span and going trigger happy like he's playing Flappy Bird, but they've also shifted to a sports-oriented presentation. For example, Raw used to open up with the signature, then the opening hype package with the theme of the show, followed by a blast of pyro straight into commentary setting up the night to come. This would get the fans hyped for even the most long-winded Triple H promo about the sky being blue. Genuine question in this Netflix era, does anyone even know what this open looks like? It hasn't been played once, if it even exists at all. The goal is to look like what you'd see while watching a sporting event. The flyover establishing shot of the city and venue, then you get their version of player walk-ins one by one introducing the big wrestlers that are competing that night, then it's a recap video and they go straight into things without the pomp and circumstance. With the death of sets also died Titantrons, killing the Titantron videos that played on them as well. Back in '97, WWE introduced a big screen with the word being derived from the company's name being Titan Sports, so it was the Titantron. These essentially allowed you to see the playstyle of a wrestler, if you will. Whether they were a high flyer, comedy character, brawler, powerhouse, whatever it was, the quick cuts helped fans who might not be familiar with someone's game understand what made the character tick. Now it's a nicely dressed up font if you even get that. You're probably asking, Who really cares about a small little element? Of course, what happens in the ring is the most important thing, but the presentation matters. Anyone who's displayed a proficiency to do something at a high level should be held to that same standard. Recently, WWE's entire existence has been so corporate, it's been so hell-bent on ramming gates and numbers down people's throats, so high off their own supply. I don't think it's wrong for people who pay premium prices to want a premium product all the way through. Take something like SummerSlam. This year it moves to a 2-night show, and if you want to present that on par or equal to your biggest show of the year in WrestleMania, then you should also hold yourself to that same standard production-wise. Fans are paying for the stories and matches, but also the spectacle. You're creating an overall packaging for the night to come, from match graphics, music, lighting, and set design. When they hit on everything the right way, it makes the event even more memorable and it creates nostalgia. What WWE excelled at for the longest time was flexing how good they were at their production. It was that one thing that set them apart from every other sport or form of entertainment. Then of course you have the visual element. You remember Jeff Hardy winning the WWE Championship, then scaling the tower at Armageddon. You remember someone making their debut or return with a certain backdrop. You remember Shane going through the glass. These push the moments just that much further. The art direction used to be beautiful. It's fun to see a brawl on the stage, or the stage is used as a personal playground or a weapon for a wrestler. They give each show their own identity and ambiance, and they make everything feel more epic, each one different than the other. The ruins of Armageddon, which fit perfectly with the post-apocalyptic vibe, leaning heavy into the wasteland theme and using the elements of hell before the introduction of the castle. The danger of walking through the swinging hooks of Backlash, making it feel like the wrestlers were contained inside their own claw machine and just escaped being whisked away by one of them, or it going through them altogether. The fiery vibe of Judgment Day spelling out the final fight before the end arrived. Smaller scale, the MSG shows were memorable because of the hard cam's positioning and how that small entranceway had something memorable to it, whether it was doors, props, wallpapers, anything that spiced things up. Presentation only enhances the experience, and the creativity used to be off the charts. This also trickles down to the video games. When you're in a menu and you're selecting the stage, it's the same boring ringside elements but with a different skin on it. The stages they do offer for you to unlock are the same old recycled ones they use over and over, since there's rarely any new ones that are added into the rotation aside from WrestleMania. Rarely does it feel like they dive into the archives of those that are lost. The best unlockables in these games were always the different stages. They'd give you the change in presentation, and that was part of the appeal, messing around in different environments. Everyone always reminisces about old wrestling games and just the simple little jumps you could make from different stages. In Shut Your Mouth, there were multiple. You could scale the massive King of the Ring chair and jump from the seat, the Rebellion stage's trusses, and of course climbing up the glass to the top of the Smackdown fist and hitting a dive or brawling up top. Back in 2003, Kane and Shane had an ambulance match at Survivor Series, and that was put into Day of Reckoning, which not only gave you an awesome set design, but also the ability to jump from the ambulance. Each environment brought something different, and the variety is always awesome, even though back then it was taken for granted. That brings me to today's era and all the stuff fans are missing out on. Just take a second to conceptualize anything for yourself. Think of all the different pay-per-views we've gotten and are going to get. Bash in Berlin, Bad Blood, Clash at the Castle. I'm sure anyone who's got a creative bone in their body drifted off and thought about what these shows could have been just based on the location and graphic packages alone. Anything, big, small, or basic. An example I wanted to look at for missed stages is SummerSlam 2022. Small nitpick before I get there. SummerSlam doesn't even feel like summer anymore. This feels very underground, dark, and gritty, which I don't think SummerSlam should ever be. It should always be blue, green, yellow, orange, those warm, vibrant summer colors. It trickles down to the posters and logos, sun, sand, water, beach vibes. That was always the core of this show since its debut. Look at how these screamed summer, and now look at these and how they're grungy. Whether it was the Sprite logo, the star, or the long lettering from the early years, they always hammered home the scorching heat of the summer. Soapbox aside, if you dive into the pinball design from 2022, it is perfection. This one was so well made, it looks so visually striking, and all the little things make this theme. From the renaming of Broadway spots to have their own WWE spin, the custom SummerSlam logo, the usage of neon, and when you actually watch this event, ringside just pops. It's so lively. The color scheme, the fonts, all the choices they made here, I think they're a slam dunk, and it makes me salivate at what a stage or entranceway with this packaging could have been. The easiest thing to do is pull from the theme they already had. They could have done something with the pinball, maybe having the tracks you see in the graphics wrapping around and doing the rounds over and over. A giant pinball machine. Maybe they play on the Smashville theme since you have beefed up angry wrestlers and the entranceway is completely destroyed. Maybe they use the spaces that are curtained off and they bring the WWE Broadway they have here to life. Maybe it's simple and they come out as some saloon doors or a guitar. Easier said than done, but it makes you think a little. Same thing goes for 2023, the Motor City theme, something as simple as making the entranceway a road like they did at Royal Rumble 2009. 2024, the concert theme was really cool, and they actually did do something to spice things up, which makes a world of difference. See what I mean? Small space, maximized. The golden era of stages was the late 90s all the way to the mid 2010s. This is where you'll see just how far the resources put into this side of things have gone downhill. The Ruthless Aggression era did stages masterfully, and when they experimented with futuristic pay-per-views, there were some really cool designs that came out of these. For example, the 3 editions of Cyber Sunday each had a beautiful set that accompanies it. In 2006 and 7, it was a desktop computer accompanied by a keyboard and tower that Titantrons would play inside of all of the screens. In 08, it was a behemoth of a BlackBerry the wrestlers would come out of, with the keyboard displaying the wrestlers' main colors. Look at the subtle little detail they put in here with the buttons burning while Kane made his way down to the ring. But it doesn't end there with the technology themed shows. Before this, we had Taboo Tuesday with a similar but different setup. The computer screen they were portraying here had a much bigger bezel to it. Since this focused on internet voting, it leaned into the theme to the fullest, with the side being the area where the hosts would announce the results. New Year's Revolution 2005 from Puerto Rico played off the location with the inclusion of palm trees and 2 flags. That's how simple it needs to be sometimes with the current location-oriented shows. The next year's edition of the show gave us a Grail stage, one of the best designs WWE has ever and will ever do, a ginormous fire-breathing dragon. On the right side of the stage was this, on the left was a makeshift elimination chamber since that was the main event. The next year, they took elements of what worked a year beforehand and simplified the set with a lot more scaffolding and a really high up Tron to feature entrance videos and graphics. What I hope you guys appreciate watching this portion of the video is how much care and time they put in. This stood out to me the most while going through the SummerSlam stages. Even if they reuse some of the stuff from a year beforehand, they subconsciously remember that they have to make it somewhat different. For example, they used this arch as the main centerpiece from 2004 to 2006. One year it's the original, one year it's an elevated ramp, and one year it's an extra Tron up top. At the time, things may have seemed repetitive, but now looking back at it, you see the self-awareness. Earlier, I talked about how you can maximize small spaces. Just look at SummerSlam 1998. The theme is Highway to Hell, and even though there's nothing over the top about this, they added a nice little touch by having the wrestlers literally open the gates of hell to get to the ring. But for me, the holy grail of SummerSlam stages is 2007. This show was not great, but the set design was a work of art. The surfboards, the little shacks on both sides, palm trees, the ground covered in sand, and the tiki torches burning bright all night long make this one epic. Then you have those 7 diagonal panels slicing across the top, and just like a majority of the 2000 SummerSlams, the centerpiece is the double S logo, and of course, comparatively speaking, a smaller Tron above the Sprite logo. It's crazy just how few times they've fully embraced the summer vibes, but this one is an all-timer. For some reason, the next year the theme was the biggest blockbuster of the summer, and you would think this show was in LA, but it was actually in Indianapolis. This shot of MVP's entrance gives you the best look at what made this one so memorable. Themed events are always awesome. The draping curtains, the marquee displaying the match or segment that was taking place. It looked like the wrestlers were entering a movie premiere, and that's the type of immersion that you just get very few times nowadays. It's fitting that after they used this theme, they actually moved the show to LA for a bunch of years. Even these years have some fine stages. 2012 and 13 were nice with the massive arc over top. It's so crazy thinking back to these times because during those days, these were seen as a downgrade and now people would kill to have these back. Then you get to the Royal Rumble, and I think this theme was at its absolute best when it played off the word royal. In 2006, the packaging was based around medieval times. The stage design is a giant Roman Colosseum with big pillars. The lower thirds for the graphics accommodate that, and the squires are the ones who open the doors for the wrestlers before they enter to battle in the ring. Cannons on both sides, red banners, and a heavy focus on concrete make this one really stand out. The theme was pulled off to perfection. Did John Cena need to go extra and land from a spaceship? Probably not, but regardless, this one is great. How about Royal Rumble 2000? This entranceway with the taxi cab hanging over top. Then you have the New York City subway graffiti, the skids on the side of the road, the bricks that have broken free from the walls. 02 was special because you had the big circle up top showing the Rumble graphics all night, the Trons on both sides, and then the wrestlers would come out from these spiraling circles, and then you had that galaxy feel right in behind them. 2005 was based on the movie West Side Story and another masterpiece. And I would say 2007 was the last true memorable stage, as year by year they started to change and now it's just a really long ramp. Vengeance 05 just screams Sin City. This one has no reason to be as good as it is. The Welcome to Vegas sign as the centerpiece with the 2 dice underneath. On the left, a spinning roulette wheel with the Vengeance logo in the middle. 2 playing cards hung up high on the right side which showed the wrestlers featured in the match. Unforgiven from 1998 to 2006 had a really strong run of pay-per-view stages. Every year something was different, whether it was the paneling or arrangement of what they put up. The Unforgiven logo in the center was always the main thing. In 2003, when it's on fire during the first match, it just looks so dangerous. 06 looks like one of those giant fold-out portable monitors. It's ginormous. WWE started to lean very heavy into the themed shows come the end of the 2000s, whether it was Extreme Rules, Fatal 4-Way, Money in the Bank, or TLC. The weapons hanging horizontally and vertically to dress up what was a pretty average stage for TLC 2010, only for John Cena to pull down the grapevine of steel chairs and bury Wade Barrett. One Night Stand 2008 was a construction site, and this one is very fitting. Look at all the little details here. They're trying to give off this sense that it's a work in progress, it's a danger zone. There's 2 loader tractors barely holding up the sign that tells you the stipulation of the match. There's 2 massive cranes on each side, the message board barely peeking out behind the WWE logo, and all the minor details. Traffic cones, fencing, the mess of ladders around the Titantron. No Mercy was always special for a long time because the setup reflected the logo. And then we come to a show like Armageddon. This always hammered home that the end was here, and it focused really well on making it feel like the site needed to be cleaned up. 99 had helicopters, tanks, and jeeps. 2000 had a junkyard of cars. How can you forget the hell that broke loose in the main event with everyone brawling around there? If there's one I'd have to say to check out, it's Armageddon 2002. The stage is so visually striking. Fire on the left, fire on the right, fire in behind. It is a chef's kiss of a design. Judgment Day 02 had the 3 tombstones with a screen in each of them. 2004 has the crosses and cemetery vibe. The Globe came in 2005, and for the final Judgment Day pay-per-view in 2009, they literally built the scales of justice on each side. Backlash-wise, people loved the sickles, but even when they went away, they had some pretty baller stages. The ginormo, spider, crab, leg, wrench-looking hooks, whatever they were. The King of the Ring execution chair. The invasion stage where WWF and the Alliance came out from different sides. The fully loaded Doritos. Extreme Rules, the Big X, skulls, ladders, junkyards, WCW stages. It's a brilliant history that I hope people don't let die and always appreciate. Then of course the weekly shows, Smackdown and Raw. Each of these used to feel so distinct from the theme music to how the show was paced. Now each just feels like an extension of the other. Raw over the years transformed a lot, from the OG set to the Raw lettering to the debut of the Titantron, the Raw is War set with the battle flags up top, to the 01 stage, which looked like it was the backlash hooks cut in half and driven into the ground. Then of course WWE's love for glass being smashed. The industrial stage came in 2002 with the big metallic lining, which saw a lot of different changes throughout the era. This one is so nostalgic. This one is so true to form of what Raw represents, in my opinion. On the SmackDown side, you had the Ovaltron, and then of course a stage which I know a lot of you guys have a soft spot for, one a lot of people love, the Smackdown Fist. Just look at this thing and you know damn well this was a nightmare to set up every single week. It just looks like it's designed to be a playset. Glass shattered all around, a massive fist smashing things into bits with 2 screens on both sides of the set, a big WWE logo right up top. This right here is so special because it represents the peak of the brand, the greatest days of the brand split, and the nostalgia of the SmackDown games. If you guys remember, back in 2021, they hosted a retro SmackDown, and a lot of us were anticipating that this stage would be brought back as a one-off. Instead, we got a CGI floating fist. Both Raw and SmackDown had similar stages in the move to HD. The 2016 brand split gave us this short-lived stage, and SmackDown this one before they moved to the Y shape. Before COVID, both shows got an overhaul. SmackDown on Fox had this brilliant stage which was very short-lived with the elevated ramp and the 4 pillars on each side. Raw had the half pipe which Kevin Owens took a dive off of. Then when the return to touring happened, it was just a big board, and it's been downhill for weekly TV ever since. Lastly, I don't think a full deep dive into this topic would be complete without looking at Wrestlemania, a time of year where we get the grandest stages of them all. Unless you're WrestleMania 35, in that case you get the grandest Sony Bravia of them all. These started off small and slowly they got bigger and bigger, and now it's just part of the deal. Every year you want to see what the WrestleMania stage looks like. The first hardcore one was WrestleMania X7 from the Astrodome. Those 2 big pillars, the massive Titantron, the smaller board up top. 18 had a spam of scaffolding everywhere. This fits seamlessly with the times. A little messy, a little gritty, a little rough around the edges. Really represents the era to a T. 19 from Safeco with the triangle dagger looked absolutely beautiful peeking out behind the ring. This one proves how color palettes and the selected shades amplify the feel of the show. I'll always remember Kane setting New York City on fire at 20 with even the floor being animated. Then there's this one for WrestleMania 21, the first time around with the Hollywood theme. This one fully leans into the very obvious and easy theme. It gives it that elegant feel. The marquee is something that will always be a classic and fit with anything that's adjacent to movies or Hollywood. The banners in Chicago with the 3 massive Lego blocks and Titantron up high. 23, I don't know what this is, what this structure is supposed to be, but it's huge, it's got spirals, it is towering, it's one of the best. Bigger and more elaborate, WrestleMania 24 was a full-on tower. It looks like a full-scale hotel with the see-through rooms, the big center balcony, and the addition of palm trees and the obligatory Trons. The inspiration comes from the Miami Art Deco hotels. Orlando just gets it good every time they host these shows. 26 is a ziggurat, the big 6-step tower with that monstrous WrestleMania staircase slanting down, the pyramid trusses around the ring, and the LED board that would come down during the entrances. They continued to make this a thing the next year, only this time it was a cube that came down. Then on the stage you had the big spider with the curved WrestleMania lettering. Even the bad shows had all-time stages. Once in a Lifetime from Miami is one that'll always be memorable. The stretched out boards with the palm trees and the fire and ice branding for Once in a Lifetime. 29, the most mid of mid shows, and yet the stage was a masterpiece. A replica Statue of Liberty over top the ring, the Brooklyn Bridge and the Empire State Building being the centerpieces. Part of what makes certain stages so special aren't even what the stages look like, it's the atmosphere that accompanies them. Look no further than 2015 in Santa Clara. Design and creativity wise, I don't think this one is among the best, but the open air stadium and shift from sunny skies to darkness make this one what it is. This one illuminates during the night and the red pops. You have that lasting image of the heist of the century, and that's what makes this one what it is. But here's the masterclass, WrestleMania 33 and the Ultimate Thrill Ride. For many, this is the greatest stage ever created. It was a home run to do a Universal Studios theme, and they hit it out of the park. The massive globe is the centerpiece with WrestleMania superimposed onto it. The colors they chose give it so much vibrance, and that right side of the stage casually just has a loop-de-loo roller coaster track with the big drop. Then you have the entrance to the Ultimate Thrill Ride right underneath the big globe. This one is all about the centerpiece, all about the colors and details. It's so good, and when the pyro comes on, it's game over. This only gets better looking every year, and when you watch this show as the day becomes night, every entrance is beautiful. The next year, it's a ginormous Mardi Gras mask with WrestleMania written in cursive font, then the diamond-shaped paneling in the back. I think it's safe to say this one outdid the big X's from just a few years beforehand. Themes always make stages, and one that defines that is WrestleMania 37. The theme? Pirates. Since it rained in the stadium, it gave the flags up high an even more distressed look. The set with the huge WrestleMania logo and cannons built onto the side of the ship. The stage is at its absolute peak in the triple threat main event with Edge, Roman, and Bryan. There is bombs of pyro, and it's genuinely a sight to behold. For the Texas stages, the Lone Star State theme is the easy one to go with. 25, 32, and 38 all incorporate the stars, and they all look great. WrestleMania 39 is theming done to perfection. At 21, they'd already visited the Hollywood theme, but they took this one to the next level. An Oscar-worthy stage that portrayed the elegance of a movie premiere or award ceremony, all with the spiraling steps, the golden and red coloring give it that perfect feel. On the sides throughout the night, it was custom WrestleMania posters of a bunch of different talent, and then when the match started, it was renders of the wrestlers in the match. I like that they didn't go with the marquee like they had at SummerSlam 2008. For WrestleMania 40, I don't think by any means this stage is the most robust or detailed, but I feel like that green and XL will be something that fans look back at fondly. During the entrances, this stage looks great, even though the core of it is the big X and L. And finally, WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. I think a lot of us were under the impression that it would be Vengeance 05 but modernized with the Dice Vegas sign, but instead, this stage design was inspired by the Plaza Hotel. I'm sure as some of you know, at one point WWE was going to open up a hotel and casino in the city, so maybe this is an Easter egg that they finally built it 20 some odd years later. The tower is a hybrid of WrestleMania 24 and WrestleMania 39, a big WWE logo dug on top, custom playing cards with the wrestlers hanging above which make their way down during some entrances. Then you have the subtle touch of falling poker chips in between the big dice-shaped video board above the ring. As fans, we've been blessed to see them create things that you wouldn't see anywhere else in the world, and today that showmanship is very rare. The art of the stage for WWE is completely lost. They once separated TV from pay-per-view, big from small. There was a time where every show felt special, and there was an anticipation for what it would look like. Today, that's all gone. I understand for logistical reasons why it is what it is, but it would be awesome to see the magic return even if it was subtle. No one's asking for a million different moving parts, but just something that gives character to each show. WWE stages were once an art, lively, immersive experiences that were unlike anything else you'd see. Now, they're just relics of the past. Thanks for watching.